Yeah, welcome back all. So we're resuming the session post-break. And now we have with us Dr. Kothai Shadri. She's a professor and head Department of Agricultural Microbiology, College of Agricultural Sciences, SRM. So Dr. Kothai ma'am is presenting on the topic effect of roughages on the quality of milk produced in Baburayanpettai village. Over to you, Kothai ma'am. You may start. Thank you. Oh my God, I can. So welcome back all after the break. We have with us Dr. Kothai Shadri. She's a professor and head Department of Agricultural Microbiology in our College of Agricultural Sciences. Dr. Kothai ma'am would be presenting on the topic effect of roughages on the quality of milk produced in Baburayanpettai village. Thank you, Kothai ma'am, for joining us. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning all. I'm going to present on the effect of roughages on the quality of milk produced in Baburayanpettai. That is the village where our college is situated. The village is also adapted by the SRM college and the university. So I thought like we have to do something about the quality of the milk produced here. So usually here we produce the very small farmers like the people will have one or 1 to 10 cows. There is no modern farms present in this village. So usually they grow the animals like their children only, like you can see that like they have to tame them and they give the food at their home footsteps. These are all the activities which is seen in the villages. And I'm also not going to talk about the high um, data, IoT, or census. So finally, I come back to that. So here in this village, these are all the practices. And usually roughages means, so what I have taken the topic, so it should be balanced of having PA, that is palmitic acid and oleic acid should be present in the roughages which should be fed into the animals. So that is the normal way. So many studies have demonstrated that high quality roughages like herbage, crop straw increases the animal's dry matter intake and the effects of fatty acid uptake by the mammary glands, which in turn increases the milk production, milk protein content, and milk lipid content, resulting in an altered milk lipid profile. So this is the generally it happens in any animal. But when you see that in our country, we used to give groundnut cake, gingerly oil, rice bran. These are all the different types of roughages and oil seed cakes, that is the cake which is left over after pressing the oil, which is the major feed which is given to the animals. Okay, so apart from this, a concentrate mixture, roughly regularly, it is feeding should be followed. A concentrate mixture can be many kinds, as we have seen in the previous slides. But you know that cattle are very intelligent and they can avoid eating the poisonous plants. So they don't eat the poisonous or allergic plants. They know by sensitivity. But nobody taught them, but they avoid eating these plants. But the problem is they cannot sense or they cannot avoid eating plastics, as you can see in the right side picture. Usually it is a general scenario in the developing countries where the animals are allowed to go outside for a free range system. So in the free range system, apart from what they are providing at home, they also feed on the other materials on the way, like in the roadside, in the near the dustbin, like that. So here what they eat is that they, along with the feed, they also consume the plastics. So I started the work with the milk testing, that is alarming rate of microbes are there. But when I go deeper into this analysis, so another point catched my mind, that is about the microplastics. So the Dutch researchers did a small sample survey uncovering the alarming evidence of potentially large scale problem in the dairy industry. So I diverted from the microbes to the microplastics. So small plastics particles known as microplastics have been detected in the dairy, meat products, and in the animals themselves. Okay, so it is also conducted by several universities like Amsterdam University and Plastic Soup Foundation analyzed the samples of cow's milk, meat, feed, and blood collected from the different farms of Netherlands, including the organic farmings. So they found that microplastics are present. So even though you can see the right side picture, it is a high-end farm. So where they controlled, the animals are controlled, confined in a building, and the concentrates or the roughages are fed to the animals. On contrast to the animals which are present or in the free range system, which can drink any type of water or which can eat any type of the food. So in both the cases, microplastics are present. How? Because here it is confined and here it is a free range system, but both produces a milk containing microplastics. So how it enters the system? So here you can see that this is an ordinary scene like the face wash. I'm just telling one example. The face wash which contains a lot of microplastics. Nowadays everybody are using. There is no limitation yet. It's, women, only women are using or men are using it. So wide range of people are using this face wash, and then soaps with these micro beads in that. So these are not recyclable plastics. So the big plastics like buckets or any other materials, they are recycled, even the car tires. But these microplastics go unnoticed and reach the soil and the water. So even the best breast milk contains the microplastics. That is the latest alarming news. So samples of the ultra pure water and two pasteurized liquid cow's milk samples, brand B and the whole milk, brand C, like that. A researcher was sampling a lot of milks and water. So what he found is that the microplastic number varies. Like you here you can say that day 1 to day 9 or day 10, the microplastic number varies in the milk samples and in the water samples. And what they found is that the the microplastics which were found in the water matches with the microplastics which are found in the milk samples. So we can very easily say that through water, through the soil where it is consuming the roughages, it enters the animal system. So here you can see that usually we are feeding the cattle with a lot of roughages. But in the case of other animals, they consume the plastics. So recently, they are doing surgery to the animals, like 52 kg of plastic is found in the cow's stomach. It is removed. It is all in the world news. It is not only a problem of India, it is also a problem of other countries too, because in Netherlands the livestock farmers are instructed to remove all the plastic packaging from the feed before offering to the animals, but the researchers warned, and despite this notice the plastic wrappings were not removed. It is a careless attitude of the farmers, and the Dutch Food Safety Authority is responsible for quality monitoring and animal feed. It tolerates a limit of 0.15 percentage of weight of the microplastics in the feed. But the EU regulation, the tolerance is different, and it is going in an alarming rate. So if you see that 9 out of 10 personal care products contain the microplastics, and our packaging, food packaging systems, like you know that we are buying a lot of food from through the from the hotels through Swiggy or any other apps we are ordering. So it is coming in a one use plastics, like one time use plastics. So when they pack the very hot. You know that when you reach, you want the food to be very hot. So when it is packed very hot, it also absorbs some plastics from the container. Other than that, we use a lot of disposable plastics, bottles, and then carry bags. Carry bags is the one of the alarming polluted plastic in the world, not only in India, it is throughout the world, because it is the one which kills the animals. They need wires, they have recovered needles, wires, nails, and whatever it is, like there is a lot of things they have recovered from the animal's stomach nowadays. So here you can see that 30 kg of polythene from the cow's stomach is removed from the Berhampur in India, and 80 kg of polythene waste from the cow's stomach after 3-hour operation. It has also happened in India, and how it enters the animals. So here we are feeding silage, hay bales, irrigation water, plastic mulch, all these sludge, plastic mulch which is used in the like the farms, sludges, fertilizers, waste degradation, and tire abrasions. Even it is not added that when we are using the washing machine, the microfibrils are released. Yeah, thousands micro fibrils are released every time when we wash it in the washing machine, that go unnoticed into the underground water. So microplastics in the soil column and in the groundwater, so it reaches the forage, and it is also reaches the crops fresh and the storage feed, then which is fed by the animals, like it is eaten by the animals, and then it in turn it reflects in the its presence in the meat, milk, and whatever egg or everything whatever we consume as a animal food. So here the microplastics, at least 151 trillion microplastics are already in our oceans. And a personal care cosmetic product can contain as much as plastics the packaging. And a machine washing, a single synthetic garment releases 1,900 microplastic fibril. This is the UN report. And the epidemiology of the rumen impaction. Rumen impaction is nothing but when they consume a lot of plastics due to, and it accumulates in the stomach. Okay, so the plastic bags are the most common type of foreign bodies found in the ruminants suffering from impaction. Slaughterhouse prevalence of plastics among other foreign bodies in the ruminal impaction has been reported by different workers of the world. Then in some cases, it is up to 74 percentage in Jordan. I have also gathered some more information that in Pakistan, it is 62.5 percentage, in Nigeria, 81 to 85 percentage, and in Ethiopia, 50 percentage, Kenya, 72.3 percentage, and Eastern Ethiopia, 79.2 percentage of plastic removed, like plastic found in the animal that is recovered from the slaughterhouse report. This is the slaughterhouse report. So, these due to this impaction, that is the plastics are slowly released into the milk which is produced by the animal. So these are all the released results. But some of the countries like India, Egypt, Yemen, and other countries, they are not releasing any slaughterhouse report. But still, there are many plastic pollution is there in India. So here, when they ingest the plastics in the rumen, they slowly release the chemicals in the rumen fluid, which in turn enter the food chain through milk and meat products. So, in recently, it is like everybody is aware of those who are Indian citizen or any other citizen in China or any other country. We are using a lot of plastics, especially for food. It is directly reaching our system, or through the ecosystem also it reaching our system. Okay, so due to the low cost, ease of production, versatility, moisture resistance, plastic have gained a lot of industrial applications and have already displaced many traditional materials such as wood, stone, leather, and many others. If you see that in Western countries, they are dumping the landfills, and then they are exporting to other countries. Even there is an alarming report that 48% of the plastics are imported by the China from other countries to recycle them into other products. But other countries also like Germany, US, UK, they are recycling the plastics. But here only you have to remember that the microplastics are not recycled. It is not yet recovered, and not any other process are devised to recover these microplastics from our system, from the soil, water, and in the air. China, this is already I told you. And when you are saying that the plastics, it is not a proper way disposal of the plastics, it end up in the roadside dumpings. So you can see that it is an ordinary scene in India. I don't know about the other countries, but it is ordinary scene in India that it is dumping on the roadside and outside, because the dustbin is not enough to hold all the plastics what we are dumping in, because every day we are using a lot of plastics in our day-to-day life. In United Nations Environment Program, 2016 estimates that 57% of plastics in Africa, 40% in Asia, and 32% in Latin America are not even collected, being instead littered, buried in the open. China, Sri Lanka, Egypt, Nigeria, and Bangladesh, South Africa and Indonesia, Philippines and Thailand, Vietnam, and India are the major countries contributing to the massive environmental pollution through dumping plastic waste as landfills. So the developing countries, especially, they are recycling the waste but not the microplastics. So, animal ingest these plastic materials due to erratic feeding behavior, confusing for food, and when trying to eat the leftover feed materials along with the plastic wrappings. And ingestion of this indigestible plastic materials over a period of time leads to the development of ruminal impaction due to plastic materials in the ruminants. So, ruminal impaction due to plastic materials is common in animals. Sometimes it is also misunderstood for gas formation. So, if it is continuously the stomach is in the bulged state, so they have to see the doctor to see whether it is due to gas or a plastic impaction. And recent research also shows that microplastics are present in the branded milks. Large amount of microplastics are known to accumulate in the environment, mainly due to them. They are directly discharged from land-based sources directly into the environment, including the ecosystem, are also increasing the afterproof of the presence in the soil. So, microplastics is a wider variety in the foods intended for human consumption. These foods include poultry, meat, snails, edible salts, sugar, honey, and various beverages like drinking and bottled waters, soft drinks, cold tea, beer, and liquid milk products. Many of the methods are either not adequately sensitive to identify these microplastics with the size of less than 20 micrometer, are specific enough to discriminate organic particles from the microplastics. So they are also simply incomplete in terms of performance, a lack of information on the microplastics and size and range, and on the polymer identification. So micro Raman among the all the techniques, micro raman technique was the one of the major technique which was used in identifying these microplastics in the milk samples. Even less than 1 nanogram weight is identified. So the scientists, they used this to recover the microplastics, and they have identified this type of um, plastics which are present, microplastics which were present in the milk produced in the Western countries. So here you can see that the microplastics which are in the under the SEM EDX analysis, in the skimmed milk, in the powder milk, and in the raw milk. The SEM images of the SI filter surface, four particles shapes are identified. These were assigned to undigested fibrous fragments and undigested fragments, mineral particles, and the retained microplastics standards. And here also another researcher who identified the microplastics through the micro Raman analysis. So, what is the alternative for this? So, main microplastics are found in the farm milk, processed liquid milk, and reconstituted powdered milk samples. So, these are alarming state, and we are feeding these milks to the children. In Baburayanpettai, here, there are very small farmers are there. They collect the milk. There is a society. They collect the milk, and there are two kinds. Like one, they give it to the high end processing industries. Other than that, they are just simply selling to the local people without any pasteurization. So directly, the people are consuming this milk. So we have to standardize the appropriate solution and identification methods for these microplastics in the food that follow a guideline using readable protocols with a strict quality assurance, including the control measure of method blanks and the microplastics recovery. So I have recovered this information from this Da Costa Filho, who researched widely on these microplastics which are present in the milk. Then, which milk is the best? We are thinking about it. There is A1 milk and A2 milk nowadays. So, A1 protein is digested in the small intestine. It produces a peptide called beta casomorphin 7, BCM7. The intestines absorb the BCM7 and it then passes into the blood. Doctors have linked the BCM7 to stomach discomfort and symptoms similar to those experienced by people with lactose intolerance. The structure of A2 protein is more comparable to human breast milk as well as milk from the goat, sheep, and buffalo. Why I am saying all these things is that our future milk is going to be a totally a different thing. In 2000, a scientist in New Zealand found a A2 milk company. The company provides milk from cows that only produce A2 protein. The A2 protein milk company tests the DNA of their cows by using the hair sample and they enable that it produces only the A2 protein. There is a small difference between and A2, A1 and A2 protein, which differ only by one amino acid position in 67. In type A1 beta casein, and there is no an amino acid histidine at this position, whereas in type A2 protein. Why I am switching from the microplastic? Because the microplastics are very difficult to remove from the system, and it is going to take a long way to remove the microplastics from our ecosystem, from the soil, from the water, and from the air. So nowadays they are thinking about producing this artificial milk, that is zero cow milk. How this technology works, they combine the DNA from the cow and the microbe, and they incorporate in the biodigester in the industries, and they produce the artificial milk. So that is called a zero cow factory. So there is no cow in the future. So Forbes India, it has produced the AICGUSEC startup is working on manufacturing animal-free dairy products by using the precision fermentation technology to bioengineer microbes producing animal-free milk protein and dairy products. So, what we are going to do about our future? So, about the zero cow factory, we are going to use the artificial milk, or we are going to refine our ecosystem free of the pollution, free of the microplastics, which are endangering the future life, that is, the babies and the children who are directly consuming the microplastics along with the foods. So, proposal is like the intensive studies on the rumen impaction of the cows in Baburayanpettai, training the farmers of the low-cost hydroponics feed, integrated farming, proper disposal of plastics, develop a sensor to detect microplastics. So, this is going to be a proposal and a work in Baburayanpettai in the future. We are already started in our college. So the roughages are can be produced by the simple hydroponics. in the at home, and it can be fed to the animals. And you can see that it is already in the role, like they can produce maize and other small grains like this, and they can feed it to the animals. So, what is going to be our future? We have to decide. So, either we clean up our ecosystem, or we are going to use the artificial milk. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Kothai ma'am, for the very informative presentation. Over to participants for the questions. Any questions?
Hello, good morning, ma'am.
Yes.
So I mean, for my proposal, ma'am, is also